Hello everyone, welcome to Ballotpedia. I'm Erica. In the run-up to the November general election, Ballotpedia brings you our hallmark, nonpartisan, objective information on noteworthy elections and ballot measures. In this video, I'll discuss Arizona Proposition 140, the single primary for all candidates and possible ranked choice voting, or RCV, general election initiative, which will be on the ballot in Arizona as an initiated constitutional amendment on November 5th, 2024. Proposition 140 would change the state's electoral system, including primaries and general elections. Its official title is Proposition 140, proposed by initiative petition relating to elections. It would amend Article 7, Sections 2, 7, 10, and 11 of the Constitution of Arizona. Prop 140 is one of two election-related ballot measures Arizonans will vote on in November. The other one is Proposition 133. And to help keep things clear, we'll talk about that a bit later in this video. They're both part of a trend we're seeing in 2024 related to electoral systems. There's a lot to unpack here. I'm starting with a description of Arizona's current electoral system for primary elections. The Grand Canyon state currently has semi-closed partisan primaries. That means voters registered with a political party choose their party's candidates for the general election. Independents can participate in one party's primaries. They cannot vote across parties. The candidate who receives the most votes advances to the general election, where the candidates compete against other political parties' nominees and independent candidates. Arizona Proposition 140 would change Arizona's current partisan primary system. There will be no partisan primaries if Prop 140 passes. Continuing with the current electoral system for general elections in Arizona, the state follows what is known as a plurality voting system. That means the candidate who receives the highest number of votes is elected to the office. Proposition 140 would change the system to a majority voting system, meaning candidates would need to receive a majority of votes in general elections, securing more than half of the total votes, not just the highest number of votes. This seems like a good time to shift gears for a moment and talk about 140's readability. Ballotpedia assigns readability scores to all ballot measures to indicate the reading difficulty of the text. The scores do not account for the difficulty of the ideas in the text. The average number of words in a 2024 ballot title was 68. Arizona Proposition 140 is even longer with a ballot title word count of 80. Its ballot summary readability score is grade level 15, which is equivalent to a bachelor's degree, and the reading ease score is higher at 30. Check the resources at the end of this video for details on the objective systems we utilize for scoring ballot measure readability. Now let's take a look at what a yes vote and a no vote on Proposition 140 means. A yes vote on Proposition 140 supports replacing partisan primaries with primaries in which candidates, regardless of a partisan affiliation, appear on a single ballot and a certain number advance to the general election, such as top 2 or top 4 primaries. Requiring candidates to receive a majority of votes in general elections. Requiring the use of ranked choice voting in one-winner general elections when 3 or more candidates advance from the primaries, and prohibiting the use of public funds to administer partisan primaries at the federal, state, and local levels, except for presidential preference primaries that allow independents to participate. A no vote opposes these changes and thus keeps semi-closed partisan primaries in Arizona, where the candidate who receives the most votes will advance to the general election to compete against the other political parties' nominees and independent candidates. A no vote maintains Arizona's current plurality voting system for general elections, in which the candidate who receives the highest number of votes is elected to the office. If Proposition 140 passed, there would be no partisan primaries. All candidates would appear on a single ballot, and a certain number would advance to the general election. Candidates could list their partisan affiliation, and political parties could endorse those candidates. The Arizona State Legislature would need to pass a bill to determine the number of candidates that advance from primaries to general elections. This could be top 2 primaries, like those used in California and Washington, top 5 primaries, or a number in between. For general elections under Proposition 140, candidates would need to receive a majority of votes in general elections, meaning they need to secure more than half of the total votes, not just the highest number. Proposition 140 would require ranked choice voting in general elections when something other than top 2 primaries is used. Proposition 140 would amend the Arizona Constitution to prohibit denying or restricting citizens' rights to vote, hold office, or choose candidates based on their partisan affiliation or non-affiliation. The ballot initiative would also prohibit using public funds to administer partisan primaries at the federal, state, and local levels. However, public funds could be used for presidential preference elections in which independents and those registered with non-qualified parties can vote in the political party's presidential primaries. Now let's examine who is supporting and opposing this initiative and how much money they've raised. The Make Elections Fair PAC is supporting the initiative. The campaign has reported $9.9 million in contributions. The Make Elections Fair PAC chairperson states, "The Make Elections Fair Arizona Act is intended to ensure that all voters are treated the same and all candidates for an office compete according to the same rules. The voters of Arizona, 49% of whom are not registered with the 2 major political parties, should be able to vote freely for any candidate that they want without having to choose a party ballot, and elected officials should be accountable to a broader swath of voters in their district." The No on Prop 140 committee is leading the campaign opposing the initiative. This committee reported $5,000 in contributions. The No on Prop 140 website states, "Proposition 140 is a sprawling measure that would enact a California-style election scheme in Arizona. It includes 15 new amendments to our state constitution that would import confusing new voting systems known as ranked choice voting and jungle primaries. It gives one partisan politician the power to decide which candidates appear on general election ballot, eliminates choices for voters, and will delay election results for months." Now, earlier I mentioned that Arizona voters are deciding on 2 election system-related propositions in November. Prop 140, which I just told you about, and Prop 133, which would add the existing system of partisan primaries to the Arizona Constitution. Yes, you heard that right. The electoral systems proposed by Proposition 140 and Proposition 133 contradict each other. And how is that possible? Republicans in the Arizona State Legislature voted to place Proposition 133 on the ballot, while Proposition 140 is a citizen-initiated ballot measure from the Make Elections Fair PAC. In Arizona, when 2 ballot measures of the same type contradict and both pass, the measure that receives the most votes would supersede the other at points of conflict. Determining those points of conflict could require the courts. Last but not least, let's look at the status of electoral systems in the United States. 4 states, California, Washington, Nebraska, and Louisiana, have primaries in which candidates, regardless of partisan affiliation, appear on a single ballot, and a certain number advance to the general election, such as top 2 or top 4 primaries. 3 states, Alaska, Maine, and Hawaii, use ranked choice voting statewide. 14 states contain localities that either use or are scheduled to begin using RCV in municipal elections, and 10 states have enacted legislation prohibiting the use of RCV in any elections. In 2024, voters will decide on a record number of statewide ballot measures on ranked choice voting. In Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, D.C., voters will decide on measures to adopt RCV. In Alaska, voters will decide on an initiative to repeal RCV, which was adopted in 2020. And in Missouri, voters will decide on a constitutional amendment that would preempt RCV. In Montana, voters will decide on 2 electoral system measures, one to adopt top 4 primaries and another to require a majoritarian vote system for general elections, such as runoff elections or RCV. In South Dakota, voters will decide on Amendment H, which would replace partisan primaries with top 2 primaries. In Arizona, constitutional amendments require a simple majority in order to pass. You can click on the link below for more information about Arizona Proposition 140, including its full text, campaign finance information, and more arguments for and against it. Be sure to check back with us for more nonpartisan, fact-based information on America's politics and elections. I'm Erica. Thanks so much for watching.